I want to discuss a presentation by Ian McGilchrist, the Chancellor of Ralston College. He spoke about AI and the role of the human in the age of AI. And I think Ralston College is one of those places that I go to for these types of conversations. There's others. I think I've been relatively disappointed by Stanford and definitely disappointed by Berkeley. So I think we have to acknowledge and give credit where credit's due. And I think Ralston College is doing a really good job in trying to define the human role in this world. And uh, to me, this is a very important conversation for several reasons. But fundamentally, there's two big questions that I am striving to answer. One is, what is AI? And the other is, what is a human? And I think those are the fundamental two questions that I'd like to answer. And Ian McGilchrist's lecture is very helpful on that journey. This is not even on podcast. It's July 21st, 2026. This is Kremdelko. For the year, we are down 10.5%. The market's up 10.5%. We're underperforming by 21%. So Ian McGilchrist's lecture centers on the role of artificial intelligence in the question of what is a human. And I want to rephrase the situation, actually. I want to say that what artificial intelligence does is helping us crystallize in a so far never existing way what actually a human is. So this endeavor that we've embarked on for maybe 50, 60 years, and that we've made some huge progress recently, thanks to things like ImageNet and now GPT and so forth. This ability to create something which is akin to our own intelligence, akin, not the same, is unbelievably powerful because it helps us understand what we are. For the first time in recorded history, we have the ability to define ourselves based on an image of something outside of us that resembles us, but it's not the same. And it has very distinct features that are similar to ours and others that aren't. So having this outside view is invaluable. In my opinion, the most striking difference between artificial intelligence and our intelligence, and let me just get through the nomenclature real quick. What do I mean with artificial intelligence? What do I mean with our intelligence? There's a lot of different types of intelligence in the world. There is ants and birds and fish. There is trees and there's humans. So those are all, let's call them biological intelligences. And now there is this thing that we call artificial intelligence. And the artificial intelligence is unique in that it's a machine that is not energy constrained, number one. Number two, it has the ability to do one particular thing much faster and at much, much bigger scale than we humans, and that is iteration. So it can check for counterfactuals, that's what iteration ultimately means, much faster and a much bigger scale. And in Ian McGilchrist's lecture, actually, this question of iteration comes up. He's mentioning scientific progress and the scientific method. Now, everything we humans do, every endeavor we do, whether it's arts or technology, even sports, dating, it always implies counterfactuals. A world without counterfactuals is a boring world. A world without counterfactuals is a world that is, in fact, very scary because it means that we have only a deterministic, one-way forward kind of path. And in a world like that, I don't think we will be very happy. So counterfactuals are necessary for evolution to evolve, for intelligence to evolve. And artificial intelligence has the ability to iterate at a much larger scale and at much faster. Now, this manifests itself in many different ways. For example, the ability for a GPU to run many iterations in parallel makes the GPU so valuable. The ability for an AI to, for example, check out many different versions of a particular compound in material science allows the AI to come up with new ideas of how the compound could actually be used in technology and engineering. So those are two examples, but this, in principle, AI, what we call AI, the biggest advantage of AI is this ability, this feature of unconstrained computation at scale. That's because it's not energy constrained. Human intelligence, like most other biological intelligence, is constrained by a body. It's an embodied intelligence which has a constraint of the body. It's constrained by energy because the body can only generate so much energy, also only harvest so much energy. So there's a lot of constraints that we believe we have. I mean, it's not just we believe, we're pretty sure we have. And these constraints are real. They're real for us. They're real for ants. AI doesn't have those. AI has different types of constraints, of course. It's not energy, infinitely energy unbound, but it definitely has a lot more capacity for computation, iteration, and energy. Particularly if we add, let's say, the ability to go into space. And that allows for a whole different type of intelligence, an intelligence that we simply don't have. We humans don't have this intelligence. This intelligence doesn't exist in human form. It just doesn't. And again, where this is going to go, how this is going to manifest itself, all these questions are open. They're not answered. But, and this is my second point, it gets us to the really important point, which is, okay, what is the human? Well, first of all, the human is constrained by bodily energy functions and all those kinds of things. Now, Ian McGilchrist tries to define the human as the kind of intelligence that suffers pain, joy, loss, those sort of things. That's what McGilchrist is after. And I would say that's kind of a pretty anthropomorphic way to look at things. There is no law of physics. There's no particular, any kind of, whatever you want to call it, law of physics. There's nothing that prevents us from believing that machines cannot have those feelings in the future. So I would be very careful about that. But as we speak right now, today, at this point, in this particular juncture, loss and things like that, that's one way to think about it. Now, fundamentally, I think the way I see humans is, again, just factually, it's the kind of intelligence that has a particular constraint, which is energy, that has a very smart brain, a very efficient brain for that particular reason, because it is energy constrained. And that also has things like, life. I mean, it's constrained, but life. In other words, we have a lifespan. We have things like those, along those lines that artificial intelligence doesn't have. Now that gives us the humanity. Maybe those things aren't very useful, but they are the constraints. We work around those constraints. So, for example, we make ourselves very useful in sports we make ourselves useful in the mating game through our ability to overcome certain aspects of those constraints. But in general, that's what a human is. So I would say to define a human with loss or things like that is, again, it's anthropomorphic. So this would be my critique. This would be just my sort of my critique at McGilchrist's sort of approach here. I think we have to be very careful when we bring these types of comparisons to fruition, because again, we don't have a lot of understanding as we speak of what AI or this new type of intelligence is going to look like. So therefore, we kind of have to think for now what we know. And again, what we know right now is the ability to iterate at scale much faster. Those are the kinds of things that AI can do that we cannot do. Now, before I finish, I just want to say a few things about the role of the humanities and things like Ralston College. I think the role of the humanities is, on the one hand, unbelievably important. On the other hand, the humanities, as we know, are not well equipped for this type of role. So what we need is a new branch of science to try to understand what it is that the human role looks, or how what is the human role in this new world of AI. I guess that would be that's it. That's the fundamental question that I would be unbelievably interested in answering. I don't think the humanities, like whether it's English literature or history or any of those things, are equipped. That's for another episode. Why I think that has to do with institutional constraints and barriers and those sort of things. But the point being, again, very, very importantly, I think that the best way for us to actually deal with this thing called AI is to define the role of the human, and it's going to be defined anyway. We can maybe in the scientific realm try to be a little bit ahead of the game. It's going to be defined because Tesla's FSD, for example, is going to bring new behaviors in humans. They're going to find their role within the context of a self-driving car the same way humans find their role in the context of self-coding agents. So what we can do as humans is, in my opinion, is open. I think what we need is different models, whether it's social models, different company organizations, different types of working with these things, and then things will evolve. But as that's the only thing I want to say here. I don't think that the humanities per se are well equipped to deal with this, but we need a new branch of thinking about how the human is defined in this new age of AI. And I think this is a great opportunity, because what this new branch of AI is doing, it's freeing us from this constraint that we are the ultimate intelligence. We don't have that illusion anymore, because we've created a new one which has much more powers in certain ways. It has less powers in other ways, but it has a lot more powers in particularly those ways that we care about, things like chess, math, and those sort of things. And that is a huge opportunity. It's opening up the floodgates for interpretation. Thank you.